I'll just finalize today's session. I'll just finalize with a few points to tie our first day of conference. And we did speak about a natural system, and that's what I like to start with. And that system, we stopped with a forest. So we had a forest, and Tiago Barbosa was explaining how there's a natural system into that. And Srila Prabhupada, he spoke again and again about Dharma. And Dharma, he would translate many times as something which could be very connected to sustainability. He would say the term sustainability comes from sustain in English. And Dharma has a Sanskrit verb root, drit, which means to sustain. So Dharma and sustainability have a very intimate connection, you know. So when we do talk about Dharma, Dharma can be a very big topic. The Webster says conformity to one's duty and nature. That's the Vedic Siddhanta. And the Vedic Siddhanta says the innate characteristic of a being or a thing. So the innate characteristic of a being, something that cannot be changed. No matter what you do, that cannot be changed. So that Prabhupada is coming from that perspective of Dharma, something which is intrinsic, right? Occupational duty, constitutional duty, that is called Dharma. Functional duty, that's a very important sentence Prabhupada speaks. And like fire, you know, when we talk about fire, well, you see that fire basically is something which has a function of what can fire do? Fire can basically produce heat and light, no matter what you do. So that's the Dharma of fire. And like that, he would expand to show that everything in nature has an intrinsic nature. So when Tiago Barbosa refers to the system in nature, he is referring to Dharma. Dharma of the forest. The forest has a Dharma. The trees, each individual plant has a Dharma. And when you get close to that Dharma, then that system functions very nicely. And as His Holiness Bhakti Raghava Swami is saying, when you have a social system which is very close to Dharma, then Varnashram Dharma, that's a system, it helps us a lot in understanding the natural laws, the divine laws of nature, right? And it's so interesting to see that today FAO is the Food or Agriculture Organization entity on the world is going towards agroecology, because there is an understanding that the agribusiness cannot give an answer to the environment, even though it's widely practiced. There are many works being done on agroecology. And you see, Dharma and ecology could also be a step to even show how beyond agro, beyond ecology, there is an intrinsic nature which includes humans. And that intrinsic nature, Dharma ecology, could be a term which would actually encompass what we're trying to say, because it goes beyond agro, it goes beyond ecology, it goes to the level of intrinsic nature. So when we want to produce our own food, which is the topic of today, we need to understand our natures. We need to understand the nature of the place we are. We need to understand the nature of the plants we want to put in that community. And when we have a very good understanding, then that really makes a nice production. And tomorrow, I think we're going to have a very good lecture from Subhash Paleka Prabhu, which is, he's going to refer to spiritual food and a spiritual way of living, something like that. And we did talk about entropy and syntropy, and that's an interesting slide, you know, because entropy is visible. Tiago Barbosa usually talks about that, something which finishes. He gives the example of fuel, gasoline. You put the gasoline in your car, it produces heat, but after it's done, it's finished. On the syntropy expands. If you put a seed on the soil, it just expands. So at the moment, we are living a system which is very entropic, fossil fuels, everything is very artificial, so there's always a lack of something. And when you have syntropy, it becomes more like cooperation, abundant. So we need to make that shift from entropy to a more syntropic way of living. As you see here, this was India. All the transportation was done. A massive amount of sugarcane is being transported with bulls. It had a very natural pace. They all depended on natural foods which could be grown locally. And now, when you transfer to tractors, it's a new scenario. This tractor needs a factory, needs specific components. They may not be there. You need oil, it pollutes. So we are still struggling with this transition. And we're very much attached to this entropic way of living. And here you have a look at this was a seminar in Brazil, and Mahendra is the teacher. He's one of our consultants, and he's making a ladder of bamboo. Now, bamboo is another very syntropic material. You can make a house out of bamboo. You can make utensils. You can make floors. You can eat bamboo. The bamboo has so many functions. You can even take the renounced order of life using bamboo by taking a danda, which is a rod made of 3 bamboos. So bamboo is present in so many parts of our lives. So that's one example, a very syntropic element, which it gives so much abundance and use. And here's Prabhupada in New Vrindavan. He's there in the in the late 60s, 69, and he's basically showing the first ISKCON cow. That cow is called Kalia. It's a very interesting cow. And that cow was so special to him that he never forgot her. He would actually say, "Where is my Kalia? I want to drink that milk. That's such incredible milk." And one important point here is Prabhupada knew that without cow protection, it's very difficult to create abundance. The cow is one of the most syntropic beings on the planet because it will take some herbs, some grasses, even some dry grasses in place, and it will produce milk, which is incredible produce. The milk basically is described in the Bhagavatam as a supreme nectar, which can be called the liquid form of Dharma. And with that milk, you can actually produce sacrifice, and from sacrifice there are rains, and from rains there's abundance of grains and food and everything. So the intrinsic blueprint of nature is showing us how the cow is the most syntropic being for producing abundance in the universe. And you can see how Krishna himself is daily taking that lifestyle in a place called Goloka, the place of cows. And all his friends are Gopas, and the Gopas are the cowherd boys, and the Gopis are the cowherd girls. They all are living in a beautiful lifestyle of harmony with this blueprint. So we need to find what this blueprint is. There's a book written recently by His Holiness Krishna Kshetra Swami. It's called Cow Care in Hindu Animal Ethics, where he goes deeply into detail. It's an open access book. It can be downloaded. If you just type that Cow Care in Hindu Animal Ethics, you can get the book for free. And in that book, he does show something we learned in America from a very important member of a society, Astotarasata Prabhu. He compares cow protection to a house. And he says the foundation of that house, the very foundation, is the protection itself. You guarantee that those cows, bulls will not die. Okay? The walls is the care that you give to this cow. So that care involves a relationship. Everyone has a name. Everyone has a special attitude. And finally, the roof is dealing with the gifts of Mother Cow. So when you have the gifts, those gifts can give you enough energy to protect the cows, to take care of the cows. So that you have a whole picture. And that's so interesting because it's like a sutra. From this sutra, you can understand how to deal with the cows. And dealing with the cows, then you start to understand how you need also agriculture. And Sri Balaramji is the acharya of the agriculture. He's carrying a plow, his most charming personality. And he's showing how cow protection and agriculture have to be together. And to do that, you need a community of people. So that's how to do. So here in this slide, I want to show it. We are coming close to the end of this session, and I want to show you how this system is a syntropic system, and the cow here is basically grazing on a corridor of grass, but on the boundaries you have a row of different plants which are being cut and chopped and dropped to fertilize the bottom and also to fertilize the row. And the cow is also fertilizing the ground with manure and urine, and it's trampling on it, so it's producing more and more fertilization there. So it's a very interesting system, and as a ministry we are kind of looking at this system to see if we can replicate it more, where you'd have corridors of grazing pasture lands with herbs and everything that the cows would need, and on the side you'd have many fruit trees which are very useful to humans as food crops as well. You just need to watch the right timings to put the cows in, so she will not eat the crops that you're interested in. She'll come on a later stage of this corridor. And that's an agroforestry system. So that's an application where syntropic and intensive graining can be adjusted for a very nice functioning system. And we're really researching this system to see how it would manifest, right? And we have a few projects which are actually doing a little bit responding to His Holiness Bhakti Raghav. In Mayapur, we have the Gurukul. You can see at the bottom of the picture, little boys taking care of cows. They're exposed to this culture very early. Therefore, they can have a lifestyle which understands all of this. So they, from a very early age, understand how to live, how to make a very sustainable living on the planet. And of course, Mayapur also is coming up with the most beautiful temple, the TOVP temple, and that's supposed to be a place to broadcast to the world this philosophy. And I think some steps are being taken to have a setting where people can learn a simple and more natural way of living. We already have a Goshala, which is doing well in many aspects. And I think Mayapur has a big homework to show the world a system which actually is sustainable and based on the land and the cows, right? On the other end, we go to Europe, Almviksgard, which is a farm which has a very important system. It's a community, like a village, with a temple. ISKCON is the owner of the whole property, but actually the managers is the community. And each one gives a donation, a fee, which maintains the temple. And they have a very stable cow protection program and agriculture program with the villagers, which is going on for 30 years. It's very stable. So that's another system where people growing food and they have discussed how to organize themselves in that term. You have Gitanagari, which is doing something amazing with dairy. Gitanagari is started with vegetables, supplying to the congregations, and then they shifted to dairy, and they specialized to the point that they have a certificate, organic certificate. They're very professional, and they're supplying temples and individuals with ahimsa milk. And now they're going back to CSA systems and expanding their community. So that's another example of a place which is working. And on the other side, you have New Vrajadam, Hungary, which is a very famous project, which has a very solid blueprint for community develop, Varnashram develop, as Maharaj was pointing out earlier. And they are expanding more and more their projects. And here in India, you have this project called GEV, Govardhan Eco Village, which basically is doing something which is fundamental to be understood in India. When we talk about growing our own food, we sometimes think we are not so prepared, but they have given one step forward, and they have actually cultivated the farmers around them. They have actually they have actually made connection with the farmers, and those farmers, called the wadis, produce food for them. So that's a system which is really important for India, is you make friends with people who are already farmers, and then they produce food for the community which is there. And they have 1,000 farmers affiliated to them. About 250 are currently being trained. They do regular trainings on agriculture, on so many aspects, like the cow protection aspect is coming up, but they offer fertilizers, they offer trainings, women empowerment, and so many other aspects. So they are setting an example. In Talasari, which is a neighbor farm, is benefiting from that cooperation. And Talasari also has 350 cows and bulls, and they're developing agriculture. And there's a whole development in that region of Maharashtra. To name a few, in India, we have many projects coming up and happening. In Vrindavan, we have a farm. We have in Ahmedabad, we have in Tirupati, some Goshala, and we have a lot of affiliates. We have also Hibri, and the Varnashram ministry does have a few initiatives, which we'll hear from tomorrow from Sri Ram. Sri Ram will basically guide us tomorrow. Yes. And I think I'm about to end this session for today, exactly, and basically thank the Indian Devotean congregation and the ministry, the representative in India have organized this conference. It's our first one, but I think it came out quite well. It's the first day, and we really have to thank everyone. So I'd like to call here Sanatana Prabhu, so that we can actually come to the final steps of today. Hare Krishna, Sanatana Prabhuji. Oh, you're muted. Let me. Yes. Okay. Now we can hear you.
All right. Thank you for your nice presentation. Thank you, Bhakti Raghava Swami. Thank you, Chagu, and very much thank all the devotees who are online. And we want to very much hope that all of you can join us again tomorrow for our second part. And I think so far it has been a very good success. And let's take it from here onwards. Thank you, Kalakantha. Thank you, everyone, for participating. I think
something we can. Yes, we can. And I like to say something to finalize. I think the Indian team is really doing a great job of coordination. We can give the link to other people. Tomorrow we have Subhash Palekar, so it's important lecture. He is a famous speaker in India and abroad. And then we have His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrita Swami on Saturday, which is another very experienced speaker. And then we have Madhava Prabhu on Sunday, also speaking to us. Okay, so great. So I'll thank everyone, and also our IT team who has been giving us support. That's been very nice. Okay, so everyone, thank you very much, and we'll keep posting the link on our Facebook page, and so you can all join tomorrow too. But do register, because through registration you receive a direct mail with the possibilities of how to participate.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.